Good morning from Moscow. It's Thursday, July the 23rd. In a moment, warnings of new price rises and reports of new monuments in Russia and competing ideologies. First, some of the papers, for instance, Nezavisime Gazeta, write about the latest Ukrainian drone attacks on Russian online retailer Wildberries. Yesterday, Wildberries warehouses were hit in Krasnodar and Nevinomysk, Stavropol region. A young woman injured in the attack later died. That follows attacks in Khatovsk, Tambov region, and Elektrostal, Moscow region. In Khatovsk, 7 people were killed. 1 person was reportedly killed in Elektrostal. The headline, Logistics Infrastructure of Online Marketplaces Under Attack. The Russian economy risks coming up against a new pro-inflationary factor. Strikes on logistics infrastructure and their consequences may become a new pro-inflationary factor in the Russian economy, which will require special attention from the central bank. Just like with the imbalance of the fuel market after Ukrainian strikes on oil refineries. Kommersant has calculated that in a week, drone attacks have affected 5 Wildberries warehouses with a total area of 802,000 square meters, or 14.3% of the company's total logistics capacity. 8% of capacity will temporarily suspend operations. In the near future, logistics will likely be revised, with some goods sent to the Urals and Siberia for storage, and an increase in the share of sellers with their own warehouses. The front page of Moskovsky Komsomolets today, Russians again expect prices to soar. Russians are expecting a sweeping rise in the price of goods and services. In July, Russians' inflation expectations increased by 2.3%, from 12.4% in June to 14.7% a year. The figure was higher only in March 2022, when it was a record 18.3%. The main reason is obvious: the abnormally sharp rise in the price of petrol, which, as a benchmark product, instantly affects the price sentiment of a huge mass of people. High inflation expectations spur inflation. Businesses don't hold back on pricing in cost increases, and consumers tend to spend money faster before it depreciates. And today's Izvestia also reports on petrol and prices. The paper writes that the fuel shortage has accelerated inflation in Russian regions. Inflation in the regions increased following the rise in the price of motor fuel. For example, in Tuva, by June, petrol increased in price by 65% year on year. In Sevastopol, on the Crimean Peninsula, which Russia claims to have annexed from Ukraine, by 80%, and in Moscow and St. Petersburg by about 12.5 to 13.5%. Meanwhile, Russian clothes, footwear and accessories brands have begun to announce untypically large discounts. In the first half of the year, about 10 major players announced discounts of up to 90%. They are trying to free up working capital against the backdrop of weak demand, rising costs and deteriorating financial performance. But experts warn, in the long term, such measures will only worsen the financial situation of companies and will not solve the problems with low consumer demand. Still, President Putin sounds upbeat. Today, the Russian government paper Rossiyskaya Gazeta quotes him as saying, "The difficulties which are being created for us on the fuel market are temporary and cannot affect the overall economic dynamics." And let's go back to where we started, to Nezavisime Gazeta, and to this editorial about different statues and monuments that are appearing across Russia. Monuments are competing with each other in the regions of Russia. In response to memorials of Stalin come memorials of Nicholas II. Dzerzhinsky of the Soviet secret police and Count Benkendorf of the Tsarist secret police are competing for the title of founder of the national security agencies. The heroes of 2 opposite worlds, monarchism and Bolshevism, captured in metal and stone, are forced to find themselves face to face. Modern Russia is choosing for itself a symbol of the bright past. The newspaper calls this a cacophony of ideologies and talks about the manipulation of symbols. Finally, from the joke section of Moskovsky Komsomolets, some useful advice. If you meet a bear in the forest, start handing out advertising leaflets, flyers. The bear will pretend he hasn't seen you and walk straight past you.